Hey folks, it's Dave Neal, stand-up comic, host of the Rush Hour podcast. I've got a bonus episode for you just in time for your lunch today on Tuesday or whenever you find this episode. Specifically, and oh my gosh, do I love to talk about what we're about to talk about, specifically about the sort of influencer and content creator economy related to the sort of ecosystem that is Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. This year, we've had a new audience enter our fray, that being those that wanted justice for Justin Baldoni, those that have followed what is probably the biggest pop culture defamation harassment case we've ever seen. The defamation part was thrown out for now. Baldoni might appeal. We'll have to get into all of that. But I love to talk about money. I love to talk about the business of being a content creator. I started my Dave Neal University last month where I help people with their YouTube. It's I'm not here to promote that, but it's been so rewarding because I've had a channel for, 15 years. And for the first 10 years of my channel, I didn't make a penny. And now it's my job. It's my full-time living. It's what I do. And I've gone from making weekly episodes to twice a day. And now in this case, 3 times a day, which is insane. But with that comes people questioning your loyalties, what brand deals you're taking, where you're accepting sponsorships, which is amazing. It's amazing that people can question who they get their news from and where they get paid from. I've talked about this for so long with the different lobbying groups that pay politicians and then they make decisions that's unbecoming of their audience. We've also criticized all the comedians that just went to the Riyadh Comedy Festival in Saudi Arabia, literally taking money from a country that was responsible for 9/11. Bill Burr and other comedians got in a big load of trouble for that. And this week for me, on a smaller level, I've had to answer questions about where my funding's coming from, which it's no surprise to anybody. There is zero corporate money that comes dark money, like money that I get paid to have a certain opinion and whatnot. I get paid in 3 different ways. So this is what we're going to talk about. I also wanted to talk about Not Actually Golden, the attorney here. Let me move over to my other side. We're kind of recording this live right now. But Not Actually Golden is a TikTok attorney, right? She's successful. Hold on, let me make sure we got the right. There it is. It's popping up here. And she was sharing how much money she makes on the TikTok app, $290 in the last month, which is, you get paid basically. I want to break down how content creators and influencers get paid, and then I'll talk about some of the questions I know you guys have had. Programmatic ads are the most basic way to get paid, which is I post a YouTube video. If I qualify to be in the monetized program, I have 1,000 subscribers. I get 4,000 watch hours. That makes it so that I can start making money from YouTube, which, by the way, is amazing. It's been life-changing. Every month on the 21st, I get a direct deposit from Google from what I made the previous month. They have not bounced a check in 5 years, knock on wood. It's been amazing. But it's actually been better in the past than it is now. During the pandemic, there was a lot more money to be made because I think a lot of people were sitting at home on their computers and whatnot, but we'll get into that. So the programmatic ads, that's I don't control what ads you see. I've had people say, Dave, I'm getting an ad for this weird local divisive politician. And I go, quite literally, my hands are off. I don't broker those ads. That's on the other side. What's beautiful about programmatic ads is my hands are clean, right? There's a content creator I love named Kyle Kalinske. He doesn't take $1 from one sponsor, and he can deliver people the news and have his hands off. He doesn't have to worry about, did I say this word right? Did corporate approve my copy? Did I do this? Did I do that? Which, it's amazing. But with that comes, you're not going to make as much money. And when you're at his level, someone with 3-4 million subscribers, that's more sustainable. At the level I'm in, what used to be you would get paid like $10 for every 1,000 views is down to 6. It's been, what is that, a 40% decrease? Don't trust me on the math. But the point is the pay rate per view ebbs and flows. So when it comes to Not Actually Golden, she's making a terribly low amount per view because TikTok pays a lot less. And this is what you have to factor in when, I don't know why my graphics are like so slow right now, but they're literally shitting the bed. But this is what you have to factor in when you're making content. Some platforms pay more than others. TikTok is kind of like sugar in that it's quick energy, quick views, and YouTube is more like, I don't know, pasta dinner. Maybe that's a bad example, but YouTube's like longer form, 12, 14, 20-minute videos. So the pay rate is a little bit better. So that's programmatic. The top tier ad you can ever do, which everybody aspires to, is create your own product. That's Mr. Beast Feastables. That's quite literally Prime Energy Drink, which made Logan Paul a billionaire. That's like, you've made it when you have a product. When you have the Dave Neal coffee, and I make my version of coffee, that's when you've made it. The middle one, which is where we're dabbling in now, is host-read ad reads. And this is the one that some people have had a question about ads that I've taken. Now, I can't be extremely specific, so read my eyes here. But in some ads that I've done, people have questioned, how dare you take the money from a company that is not on our side? So specifically, we're talking about the cell phone company, right? And they're not going to be a sponsor on this video because I wanted to do a video separately so that I could talk about this in a way that's not going to, burn bridges. There's a Barbara Streisand effect when you talk about these issues that will give it more notoriety, but I'm okay with that because I enjoyed this conversation. I accepted an ad deal with a company that some people think is going to change my point of view, my perspective, and my opinion. People called out another giant podcaster, Nick Viall, for taking money from this cell phone company, and then he never criticized the people that might be in an abuse of power, specifically Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, right? They're in this heavy lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, and there's been some wild kind of accusations. I mean, even this morning, right? This morning I covered, I'm looking for my thumbnail from this morning, I covered Blake Lively possibly abusing the discovery process. We've covered Ryan Reynolds and the fight he got in with Eugene Levy and the bullying tactics that might have been done through their talent agency and all of the clout and equity that's been used to essentially try to commandeer a film project away from Justin Baldoni. I mean, that's what I feel like where I am at right now after covering this for almost a year. I feel like that's the case. I think Baldoni's going to win his lawsuit because I think a jury is going to see that the guy did nothing wrong and there's no proof of that. Period. That's where I stand. At no point since accepting this ad deal like a month ago has my opinion changed. So folks have said, Dave, now that you're taking this money, how can we trust your objectivity? Honestly, you can't. You just have to see the product that I offer and where that stands. But to conflate taking money from a sponsorship that is a cell phone company, which is owned by T-Mobile, not by Ryan Reynolds. He doesn't own the company. Did he make a shit ton of money off of it when he sold it to them? Yes. Does my taking an ad deal do anything to change or boost or help or hurt his career at all? Not whatsoever. But that's not a cop-out. You know, I live and die by that principle of like, do what's right, try to be as moral as possible. I used to call out Bachelor alumni because they would take Walmart money. And I'm like, gosh, this is so, they take Walmart money, they do these Amazon wish lists. But then when it comes to our single mom wish list and when it comes to our teacher wish list, we run it through Amazon. That's what we use. It's like we're part of a society that has a lot of issues with how the sausage is made, and yet we have to participate in that society. Now, you might say, Dave, you could just decide to work with a different ad company, which is a pleasant thought, and that's kind of what I wanted to answer here. Several months ago, without getting into specifics, I switched companies that broker ads for me, and basically, I went to a company that's a little bit more synergized with some other things I have going on. And it just felt easier. My goal was to have less working with different people and more like, tell me what I need to do and let me do it. And that's not a cop-out. That was a decision I made. It ruffled a lot of feathers because it took a lot of business away from people that I was working with before. Business is business. It sucked. For those that know my Patreon, it was brutal for me for like a week because I felt like I was giving up on somebody, but I just went from a smaller ad broker company to a larger one. Those that have been, with my channel for a long time were like, Dave, that's great. Congrats. But it still gave me a lot of guilt. But with that came, there's a supply and there's a demand to ad reads. Every 30-minute podcast I make, in my opinion, I think I can fit 3 ads into that. It's like if you watched a 30-minute TV show, you're going to get ads every 7 minutes. It's annoying, right? You're going to get 3 minutes of ads every 7 minutes. You're going to get 30 to 40% of your TV show is ads, period. That's it, right? Well, with YouTube and with podcasting, my thought was if I give people 30 minutes of free content and then there's 3 minutes of ads in there, even round it up to 5, then I'm still beating the YouTube average. Everyone's happy. You can fast forward through an ad. You double tap the button and it fast forwards. I mean, it's really never been easier. I don't encourage people to do that because that doesn't help the sponsors, but like that's what you can do, right? Well, there's this idea on the demand side, like I can just show up and say, I'll work with you, you, and you. And that's just such a naive thought. And I wanted to share how it works. Since moving to this new company, they pitch companies that are looking to work with podcasts like mine. And then I'll either accept or deny. And then from there, I'll find out which ones accepted me. Out of the 100 companies that I have agreed to work with, I think 4 of them have actually signed off and we've won them over. If I were to use Nick Viala as an example or Joe Rogan, they're a much more desirable podcast because they have name recognition. So from the advertiser side, they want to get their money into those podcasts first. So those podcasts get filled up all the way. Like Joe Rogan's probably got a lifetime worth of ad spots to fill, and there's only so many he can put in before it's a money grab and he's annoying. So there's like this sort of angle of what's the sweet spot, right? With my show, like I said, if I had 100 people try to do business with me and 4 of them only went through, that's 4% success rate. So this idea that like, Dave, you can pick and choose which podcasts or which sponsors you work with. It's like, yes, to an extent on the short term, but also working with a new company, how many can I reject on my end before they stop even offering me these? And I used the example of doing like commercial auditions. Worked as an actor. Check out my IMDb. I don't really do it much anymore because auditioning is a waste of time. But if there was, if I was like, I don't want to audition for Target because they don't pay their employees well. I don't want to audition for any Tyler Perry movies because he shoots in Georgia, which is a right to work state, and that's not pro-union. And if you start going down the list of all the things you don't want to audition for, especially in commercial acting, you get to a point where there's literally no gigs left for you, and then your commercial agents stop sending you out for things. So I turned down an ad deal, one of the first ones that was offered to me from this new company. Probably, honestly, it was a $20,000 deal. It probably would have turned into a much larger one. It probably would have turned into at least a $100,000 deal because they would have kept on buying the ad spots. I turned it down because I couldn't imagine myself saying the words they needed me to say. It was for a product that, in my opinion, was very divisive politically, and it didn't line up with my core values. So when I was presented with looking at this upcoming sponsor that I accepted, the cell phone company, my biggest concern was the core values of the company. And then when I looked into it, it's a company owned by T-Mobile. It's essentially T-Mobile. I think the only downside is that if you use more data, that it throttles down your unlimited data, but you still get unlimited data, $15, blah, 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 right? So I was like, I can sell that to my audience. I can vouch for that. On that level. But I knew also that people would say, this is going to be a Ryan Reynolds thing. I'm going to have some audience not like me. And then it comes down to the question of who am I working for? My audience or my wife and son? And while in most cases there's both, there are times when you have to decide this one's for my stay-at-home wife. This one's for the what I need to do to keep my business running. And you might say, well, Dave, but there's always another option. I agree, but you get into a slippery slope. And what I'm going to do is share with you ads that I've done in the last year that almost every single one of them, when you look into the company, has something problematic, from whole milk to smoothies. And we're going to get into all of those conversations right after this. Telehealth has made mental health care more convenient and accessible for millions of people. Finding a suitable therapist and the expensive out-of-pocket cost still keep many from getting the care they need. Rula is on a mission to make high-quality mental health care from a licensed professional easy and affordable for everyone. Rula's got you covered. They take most major insurance plans, and the average copay is only $15 per session. Rula partners with a network of over 15,000 therapists and psychiatrists nationwide, enabling you to find your personalized solution and the right therapist for you. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey towards improved mental health and overall well-being. So head on over to rula.com/rushhour to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Go to rula.com/rushhour and take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares. Do you like what I did there? Okay, but seriously, it's so interesting, right? When you get into, so I understand that there's people following Baldoni versus Blake Lively, and they've said, oh, Dave, geez, how could you take this gig? And like I've said, well, with the success rate, you can only say no to so many things before your agency is going to be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you make money, like you need to do this. And so with that said, I didn't have, I hate to use the term, a gun to my head. I didn't have any pressure to take this. I just saw it as an opportunity that was worth what is only a 3-week deal. But, next year they could buy the whole year. If, your show does well, sometimes they buy the whole year, and then it allows me to make better plans for my business. What's so interesting, there was a company, I was doing these ad deals for a casino. It's like a phone company. And I knew they were kind of cheesy. And I was like, oh man, like it's kind of like e-gambling on your phone. It's right on the borderline of things I would have a hard time representing, but it was also like people can do what the hell they want. And so what I decided to do with those ads is put them only on weekend episodes. So my defense was, I'll give people extra content that I wouldn't normally make on the weekends, and in return, you'll get a 60-second ad read for an app you may or may not want to download, whatever, right? And that, on the business side of things, that's what keeps you working. So I have an extremely aggressive schedule. I shoot 2 podcasts a day. I always say they're 25 minutes long. They always turn into more. They turn into 35-minute episodes. And what gets me out of bed at 10 p.m., or sometimes I go straight from a stand-up show into the office, I put the baby down, and then I work till 2 a.m. to get the morning episode out. What keeps me going is the added revenue I get so that my wife can stay at home, right? So that's the business. So every ad read I do, and this might mean nothing to you, and I get it. I was a starving artist, and I did Uber, and I had fucking, kids, I had 18-year-olds puking in my backseat of my car at 2 a.m. I did every, driving Uber, that is. I did every gig a background in every single movie from Wall Street 2 to Wolf of Wall Street, stood in on things, worked, in every scenario possible. And I still do a ton of unpaid gigs. And so now when I have the chance to make money, I look at it as every time I do an ad read, that is 1 day of my mortgage paid. So if I can do 2 or 3 ad reads in a day, that's great. Now, there are weeks when I don't even get one of those ad reads and I have to work on programmatic ads. So again, this might not be interesting to people. My guess is these types of videos get more comments because it is interesting to hear a content creator talk about what goes into the business. Now, the deal that I declined, so many people took this deal. I can't talk about it. I don't want to tell you the genre, the market, or whatever, but I put my foot down and said, I can't take that money. It's against my values. And then I saw other people take the gig, and it's like, well, their values are different. Now, someone else might have turned down the cell phone money, but I decided, like, look, I'm not beholden to my audience. I hold you guys to the highest level of intelligence I can, which is you can decide what to do with your dollar, your money, or even your attention. And for some people, that decision will be, Dave, I have to take a hard line in the sand here. I support Justin Baldoni more than I support you, and therefore I can't watch your content. Chances are, if you're still watching this video, you don't fit into that camp. Now, have I gotten praise from Baldoni's legal team? Have I gotten praise from Baldoni's inner circle friends that have literally found me on the street and thanked me for my coverage? Yes. And from Baldoni's legal team, the praise was like, hey, you're doing a good job. You're like, we enjoy what you're doing out there. So this idea that, people have to decide between one versus the other, to me is like, that's a fool's errand. So I did some ads this year for a company. I'm not going to say any of their names. You can piece it together, but I did ads for this company that is like therapy, but it's like a TaskRabbit style like app, like a therapy company. And then someone wrote in and said, there was someone whose background check was faked and it led to a crime, so we don't support that company. And it's like, well, yeah, there's going to be a tiny percentage where every company's get a bad review. Then I had a smoothie company that I love, and I want this smoothie company for all of 2026. I love this smoothie company. But then I find out that they're actually like shadow owned by a private equity company, which is really bad for mom and pop shops. And it's like, oh my gosh, no, I love that company. Someone last week called me out for drinking Starbucks because of the reusable plastic, and they have a point to that. The Amazon gift list we've been called out for. BetterHelp, they say that they don't pay their therapists enough. There was, if I was a milk sponsor, PETA and companies would be upset. And I don't mean to make this an example of, see, everything's bad, but companies that can afford to sponsor on podcasts, it's like, woof. Like if Redfin asked to sponsor on my show, it'd be a tough one because I'm so against that culture of them scooping up homes and all of that. But at the same end, I also have to pay for my mortgage. So I'm not pretending to be poor whatsoever, but I am still a working podcaster. This is not evergreen. This is not, like if I don't show up to work, I don't pay my bills. That's how it works, right? I've been lucky enough the last couple of years that I've been able to venture into the sponsored ad reads, but the conversation about the ethics of me as a content creator is valid. It's valid for people to say, I'm disappointed. I trusted in you. And my response to that is just watch what I continue to do. It's not, there was this Taylor Lorenz, which, we obviously got a lot of shit for interviewing her, which again is beyond me because I want to talk to everybody. I don't care if you're a Candace Owens fan. I'd love to have conversations with people that I disagree with. I still think I can change people's minds and change their audience's mind. So I'm like steadfast on have those conversations, right? What the hell was my point? I've seen backlash from people that do feel a little bit of entitlement because they put enough hours into my channel. And I appreciate that. But I always say crack an egg to make an omelet. And I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm not here to push anybody away. We want our audience to be as big as possible. But there are just days where you're going to be in the negative on subscribers. And then there's days where you might gain 600 new subscribers. Patrice O'Neill said you have to be willing to walk some when you're on stage. And while I'm not trying to do that, I have to keep the lights on my channel. I have to continue to run it like a business. And does that mean there's a little bit of a deal with the devil? To an extent. Any product you advertise, there'll always be someone who goes, oof, Dave, really? Come on. Like I take some of these meal plan products. There's like creatine. It's like he's like, that's bad for your heart. Okay. I don't know. You know what I mean? Everyone, no one watches Dancing with the Stars and then goes, Big Pharma. It's like, obviously like mainstream media is run by Big Pharma. We push against that and we'll continue. There's never been a conversation I haven't been willing to have because of a sponsor. I think it's hilarious that this cell phone company is giving me money to promote them because I think it has nothing to do with the Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni stuff. I think the company that brokers my ads, it's like they don't You think those people worth hundreds of millions of dollars care what a 140,000 subscriber YouTube channel is doing for ads they're promoting? Like no one's trying to kick me off of their ad agency. We're under the radar. But before I took the sponsored money, you would get a cell phone ad on your programmatic, which pays me a lot less, but it's the same effective outcome. So anyhow, I realize the disappointment people feel. I didn't take money from the Saudi government to go perform comedy and whitewash a whole, country in the Middle East when they're killing journalists. I took money to promote a cell phone brand that is owned by T-Mobile, period. And if the connection is too strong and that's the line in the sand people have to draw, then now is a better time to talk about it than in 3 weeks from now, because it's a 3-week ad. Now, it's not every week. It's like this week, next week, and a different week. But anyhow, there might be comments from people that say, Dave, you really don't owe us this conversation. I know, but I enjoy talking about this. I wish I could talk about it more. I wish I could crack open all of the revenue things. I do it more on the Patreon, but I just can't do that publicly, because any company that wants to work with me and then sees that I'm sharing all of the source code for how these deals work, then it becomes kind of like icky. But you guys know when I'm doing a sponsor, I announce it. It's not a secret, and people can choose what to do with their time, their money, their attention, and their support. I've been so appreciative of the nice comments that have come in from people saying, "Hey, Dave, I'm happy your business is doing well. I'm happy you can afford this and you can do all of that." And I understand not everyone's going to care about my business, but I do know that the inner circle of supporters are like big on that. So when it comes to Not Actually Golden here, she made $290 this month on TikTok. About 6 months ago, I took a real leap of faith in hiring somebody to do my social media. I probably shouldn't get into specifics, but it's not a winner as far as the money it makes. This past month, it made more money than it cost, but I would say overall, I've probably spent $18,000 and made $3,000 to $4,000. So it's a big loss on that end, but I do believe in the strategy of having someone help with your social media to grow your channels, to get new audience, to continue to try to move the needle on the beast, because audio podcasting, there's literally no way to show up in search, right? It has to be word of mouth, social media, YouTube, and whatnot. So when you think about it from my perspective, you go, sure, Dave, you can turn down these jobs. I can turn these jobs down. But at some point, if that's what I'm going to do, I can't afford my social media person. At some point, my wife can't stay home and watch the baby, which means we've got to coordinate house sitting, which means, you know what I mean? Like, the money affords the time to make more content. So those that say, oh, I don't like this ad, might not realize I'm actually giving you 40% more content. What I used to do, and understand on this, 2 years ago, I didn't do any podcast. I just did YouTube videos. And then I brought the podcasting in. That became successful. So then I brought the podcasting onto YouTube. And then this past year, which feels like a lifetime ago, is when I started the twice a day episodes. So for 10 months now, I'm not just having audio at night, I'm also recording video. And I do that because the market allows me to do that. If the money wasn't there, I'm going to sleep with my kid. You know what I mean? So anyhow, I hope this, I didn't realize how long this was. I hope this was informative to how I make my decisions, and understanding that while I do want to be as squeaky, clean, off the books, I understand that there is a deal that might compromise to some my integrity. And the only thing I ask for people is just watch how I move forward. I've literally, marched to the beat of my own drum since I started this thing, and I'm going to continue to do that. And that's all I can ask for. I can't demand it. I can't say, no, blah, blah, blah. And I can't try to push you away. I can just say, I'll be here. This is the content I make. Those that support me, you'll see that I continue to be objective and speak truth to power. I mean, it's a scary time out there, guys. The government, and this isn't hyperbole, the government is literally telling anybody who's left of MAGA that they are terrorists. I don't know if my channel ever gets shut down. I'm doing what a dad and a husband has to do for his family right now. That's it. No judgment whatsoever. That's it. I hope that the fears are not realized and that the channel can continue to grow and thrive. But we are literally, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel literally didn't even criticize, like he literally got kicked off air, and it was with the good grace of the entire country that got him put back on. And I firmly believe that because they didn't rally around Stephen Colbert and his show's ending. So at what point does the algorithm shift for YouTube? And Google says, you know what, we're a multi-billion-dollar company. In order to get the deal passed with the government, we need to make sure that we throttle back left-leaning voices. That might sound bizarre, but hello, Not Actually Golden literally was tagging Oracle in her TikTok. Oracle, I don't know why this is so slow. Oracle is owned, or the government now owns like 10% of Oracle. That's insane. The government bought part of Oracle. Oracle is now controlling the TikTok algorithm. And we're supposed to believe, no, you have a left-leaning opinion, or you speak truth to power, or you call something out. We're forced to believe that monetization's not going to change. So while Not Actually Golden didn't admit it, she's showing that her revenue is down since Oracle either took control of the algorithm or started taking control of which ad deals they're going to accept. And that's kind of what they call chilling speech. It's not banning speech. It's just saying there's certain things that are off the table. You can't talk about this. And as a content creator, when you got to pay your bills, you decide what you can talk about. Now, that's on the programmatic side. I don't control that. If they decide to pay me less for certain things I say, that's them chilling speech. On my end, no sponsor I take will ever get in the way of my opinion, period. That's what I had to say about that. I hope this was interesting, if not maybe a little lengthy, but for those getting into content creation, best job you can do out there, truly is. If you are wondering, Dave, what happens if your account does get shut down? Go to rushhourwithdave.com and sign up for free to my newsletter. That is literally the one thing I'll always have control over. YouTube goes away. Oh, Dave, we don't see your content. Facebook goes away. I get banned, whatever. rushhourwithdave.com. Scroll to the bottom, sign up for my newsletter, tell you when I have stand-up shows. And, there could be a scenario some day down the road where all of my content get released like through a blog video. That's just, you never know. And so you got to protect all of your different things here with the algorithm, as fleeting as it can be. Okie dokie. Well, I got to get ready for the afternoon episode. That's coming next.